Welcome to Chalice Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community of diverse beliefs and experiences, nurturing the liberal religious spirit and united by our desire to grow in love and in service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your life's journey, you are welcome here. Whether you gather with us every Sunday, once or twice a year, or are here with us this morning for the first time, we are glad you are here. I'm Reverend Sharon Wiley, Chalice's minister. Our worship musician this morning is Justin Gray. Welcome to this online worship service. Welcome to those of you watching live using Zoom on Sunday morning. Welcome to those of you who are watching the recording of this service later on Chalice's YouTube channel. For those of us using Zoom, please notice on your menu, you have a button that says CC Live Transcript. This is Zoom's closed captioning service, and you can use that button to turn closed captioning on or off as you choose. So you're in control of that on your screen. Also on your menu is the chat button. We're using chat right now to say good morning. So for those of us who like to use chat, you're welcome to do that. But please be sure when you post, you've used that little blue drop-down menu to select everyone. We like to use chat for everyone. And if you only chat with the host and the panelists, all of the host and all of the panelists is me. And so I might not see your message. Let's all give ourselves a big hug of hello and welcome. If you share space with someone who consents to hugging, give each other a hug. Finally, I want to especially welcome those of you who are newcomers at Chalice this morning. Towards the end of the service, I'll put a link in the chat box for adding your name to our email list. Our weekly email is the best way to get information about our many groups and activities, most of which are still occurring on Zoom. And once you're on our email list, you'll receive information about our monthly gathering for newcomers. Now, let's take a breath together.
We acknowledge that our service is taking place on the stolen territory of the Kumeyaay, meaning humans or people, and the Payamkawishim, meaning Western people. A land acknowledgement works to undo the intentional erasure of Indigenous people and to support the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people have shown. We acknowledge the original inhabitants as a first and critical step toward learning and working with Indigenous communities to secure meaningful partnership and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and sacred homeland.
Now we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. The flaming chalice was first used during World War II by the Unitarian Service Committee as a symbol of life-saving refuge for people fleeing persecution in Europe. May our chalice flame burn brightly, that all who are seeking may find us. Our service this morning honors the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, which begins at sunset tomorrow, Monday, and concludes at sunset on Wednesday. The words of our call to worship come from the Reverend Kristen Grassel-Schmidt. The Jewish New Year commemorates the creation of the world, the bringing forth of order where once there was only chaos, the birth of the building blocks of life. As Jews among and beyond us prepare to celebrate Rosh Hashanah tomorrow, let us celebrate, let us marvel, let us be awestruck, because the same force that brought our planet into being, the same force that evolved tiny atoms and molecules and DNA into intelligent life, that same force is still at work in the universe and in us, always bringing about new creations. Breath of life, breathe in us, with us, and through us this day as we gather, one in community, one in commitment to truth, love, and justice. Open our minds and hearts for the new that's always being created within and among us. Come, my friends. Let us celebrate, let us marvel, let us be filled with awe. Let us worship together. Our opening hymn this morning is from our gray hymnal, a traditional Hebrew song singing Shabbat Shalom. That's all of the words, Shabbat Shalom. The weekly Jewish Shabbat, the day of rest, begins Friday each week at sunset and concludes Saturday at sunset. Today is not Shabbat. But I consulted with our Jewish identified congregants and we agreed that singing it together would be fun. So let's do. Please join in singing.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
Our Sunday worship is the shared spiritual practice of our community, and we tend to the congregation during this time by sharing and honoring our joys and sorrows. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow with the congregation this morning, now is the time for sharing in the chat box. These won't be spoken out loud. They don't become part of our recording. If you'd like to send me a confidential note about your joy or sorrow or to make a prayer request, please email me. I'll put my email address in the chat box.
Our story is called Apples and Honey. It is a story about a special time of year when Jewish people celebrate their own new year, called Rosh Hashanah. This story is written by Johnny Zucker and illustrated by Jan Berger Cohen. It's Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. I'm trying on my brand new sweater. Before dinner, we eat apples dipped in honey for sweet times ahead. Delicious. We crunch through the leaves on our way to synagogue. Our friends smile and wave at us. Inside the synagogue, we hear the sound of the shofar. It's blown 100 times to call in the new year. For the ceremony of Tashlich, we say goodbye to the sad things from last year by throwing crumbs into the river. Everyone tries a piece of pomegranate. As we munch through the seeds, we think of next year and all the kind things we want to do. We walk outside and gaze up at the stars. There is a new moon out, bringing our brand new year. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, and it is celebrated for 2 days. The Jewish people believe that at this time, God judges everyone according to how they have behaved during the year that has ended. It is a time to look back at the mistakes made in the last year, and new clothes are often worn to symbolize a new beginning. During the festival, people greet each other with the phrase, L'Shana Tova, which means, to a good year. At the beginning of the evening meal, everyone eats a piece of apple dipped in honey. Apples and honey are a symbol of sweetness and of the hope that the coming year will be full of good things. On the first afternoon, it is custom to walk to a body of water, say a special prayer, and throw crumbs into the water. This ceremony is called Tashlich, which means casting off, because throwing the crumbs symbolizes the casting off of your sins. In this way, it is possible to make a fresh new start in the new year to come. On the second evening, a pomegranate is often eaten. The seeds represent the many good deeds people hope to carry out in the coming year. On Rosh Hashanah, Jewish people go to the synagogue to pray and to hear the shofar being blown. The shofar is a ram's horn, and it sounds a bit like a trumpet. It is very difficult to blow and takes lots of practice. During the morning service, the shofar is sounded 100 times. 4 different phrases are played, and each time the name of the phrase is called out first. Tekiyah, a single note. Shevarim, 3 notes. Teruah, a series of short notes. Tekiyah Gedolah, a very long single note. Are you ready to hear the shofar?
In honor of the Jewish high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I share these words from Rabbi Isaiah Horowitz. There are things that are important to us, and so we speak about them. There are things that are very important to us, and so words flow out from us, bursting with emotion, meaning, and depth. And then there are things that shake us to the core. The core of our being does not wait for the mind's permission or for the right words. There are no words that can contain it. It breaks out in a cry, in a scream, and in silence. This is the sound of the shofar, which Jewish communities blow at Rosh Hashanah and at the close of Yom Kippur services. It is a crying voice, not even of a human being, but of an animal's horn. We need the animal, not for its coarseness, but on the contrary, because we need to express something so sublime it cannot find words, so essential and unbounded the mind can neither fathom it nor hold it back. Each group of sounds from the shofar begins with a tekiah, a whole note, proceeds to shivarim, a broken note divided into 3 parts, and even to a teruah, an entirely fragmented sound. But each broken note is followed by a whole note, another tekiah. This is the message of Rosh Hashanah. Rabbi Isaiah Horowitz concludes, I started off whole. I became broken, even splintered into fragments. But I shall become whole again. I shall become whole again. So may it be for us, and so may it be for our world. You're welcome to join me in saying the blessing for blowing the shofar or hearing its sound, the text of which will appear on your screen, first in Hebrew and then in English. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Blessed are you, source of all, who has blessed us with the ritual of hearing the sound of the shofar. Shana Tova, wishing you a sweet and healthy new year.
I've never been a big fan of our secular New Year celebrations of December 31st. Even when I was younger and enjoyed drinking alcohol, which, let's face it, is a lot of what our secular New Year celebrations are about, at least here in the United States. For me, the January 1st New Year has always been about the artificiality of fresh starts, clean slates, and starting over. How many of us have made New Year's resolutions only to drop them within a few weeks or a month? There's nothing particularly special about turning the page of a calendar. There's nothing particularly different between December 31st and January 1st. Nevertheless, I joined with many of you and people the whole world over in rejoicing at the close of the year 2020, an incredibly difficult year worldwide by any measure. We compiled a video here at Chalice of congregants saying goodbye to the year 2020 by setting it on fire, flushing it down the toilet, scraping it out of the litter box, tossing it in the recycle bin, breaking it down into compost, swatting it, and closing the book on it. And I rejoiced at the arrival, finally, of the year 2021, with our hopes for competent national leadership and the widespread availability of COVID vaccines. What is missing from our secular celebrations, even when they are fun and cathartic, what is missing is the time for reflection and contemplation that comes with New Year's celebrations in various faith traditions. Tomorrow at sunset begins the high holy days of the Jewish tradition, which last 10 days total. The first 2 days are the celebration of the New Year, Rosh Hashanah. It is a celebratory time. Shana Tova is the traditional greeting of Rosh Hashanah, meaning have a good year. Apples dipped in honey are a traditional food to symbolize having a sweet year. The 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are the beginning of 10 days of repentance, also called days of awe, a time for reflection, apologies, prayer, and acts of charity. These 10 days conclude with Yom Kippur, which we'll talk about at next Sunday's service. Many faith traditions have their own calendars, their own ways of marking the passage of time and the significance of cycles of death and renewal. We are most familiar with the Christian calendar that most of the world follows, the Gregorian calendar introduced by Pope Gregory XIII, and its counting of years since the birth of Jesus. The Easter celebration of rebirth is the most significant holy day of the Christian liturgical year. The Islamic calendar system counts the years since the Prophet Muhammad emigrated from Mecca to Medina. The holy month of Ramadan, a time of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community, isn't explicitly tied with any theological belief about spiritual rebirth, but the practice of fasting for Ramadan is often described as something that renews the spirit, bringing clarity and energy. The Jewish years count from 1 year before the creation of the world, according to rabbinic tradition. Tomorrow at sunset is the beginning of the year 5782 of the Hebrew calendar. This is a time for celebration, but also a time for reflection, repentance, and prayer. In our story earlier, we heard about the ritual of tashlik, described for children as letting go of the sad things from last year. But for adults, this is a ritual of letting go of our sins, the ways in which we have missed the mark of who we aspire to be. To let go of one's sins, of course, we must do some reflection about what those shortcomings have been in the past year. This ritual can also be understood of letting go of the past year in order to embrace the new one. I appreciate that the Jewish high holy days are 10 days long, a window of time for reflection and contemplation. So much more rich and meaningful than simply throwing a big party and turning the page on the calendar. It seems to me that fresh starts, fresh intentions are much more possible and real when they come from spiritual practice and tradition. Have we ever yearned so deeply for a fresh start? We recently received updated guidance from the Unitarian Universalist Association for reopening plans. The guidance opens with these thoughts, I'm quoting, "This isn't what we hoped for. The disappointing vaccination rates, breakthrough cases in vaccinated individuals, and the alarming contagiousness of the COVID-19 Delta variant, even among those who are vaccinated, call for the reevaluation of reopening plans for congregations." Still quoting, "We are all feeling a lot of emotions as we grieve the loss of our old normal and the fleeting new normal that we had hoped for when the vaccines became available. There have been additional challenges for our families and for those who have been isolated throughout this pandemic. We have lived through a traumatic time. We must continue to care for ourselves and one another." End quote. It's a good summary of the difficult and challenging times we are in. This year, for Rosh Hashanah, I invite you to be reminded of this blessing, that in even the hardest times, newness is always possible. I don't mean a magic clean slate and start over, but I do mean that there is always something tender and green growing in us. One of the side effects of the pandemic is that there seem to be fewer workers willing to take on low-paying jobs. I've been to multiple takeout restaurants with signs claiming they don't have enough workers, so can't keep their regular hours. There appear to be a variety of explanations for what's happening, and time will provide more analysis. But whatever the reason, the fact remains that in many industries, there are fewer workers than are needed. This is a time for something new to break through. This is a new year. I don't know what will happen. Industry sorts itself out. But if I ran a restaurant, I would look at paying my employees more, possibly charging more for the food. And I'd also look at shortening the hours I was open. Remember when things used to be closed on Sunday? When I worked in retail years ago, one of the things that made that work undesirable as a career, I liked it in a lot of ways, but it wasn't sustainable, in part because I never had 2 days off in a row, and my days off changed all the time. So imagine if our society changed and we became accustomed to more stores and restaurants being closed on Sundays and Mondays. Better for workers, maybe better for all of us. If I knew I couldn't eat out on Sunday evening, I might begin to put some special thought into Sunday dinner. Didn't that used to be a thing, Sunday dinner? Nothing has to stay the way it is. Change is always possible. That is ultimately the hope of the new year, isn't it? Not an assertion that change is inevitable, but an expression of our faith that change is possible. Not enough people are vaccinated, but change is possible. Too many people are sick and dying, but change is possible. We are fighting about the importance of masking and the fairness of vaccine mandates, but change is possible. This Rosh Hashanah, let us do what we can to let go of the sorrows and failures of the past year so that we can look forward with hopefulness for what the new year may bring. Have some apples with honey in the next few days that the coming year may be sweet. Have a pomegranate and think about the kindness you might offer to others in the coming year. Let's devote our energy to bringing about needed and welcome change to our hurting world. You are invited to join in singing.
The ceaseless flow of endless time, no one can check or stay. We'll view the past with no regret, nor future with dismay. The present slips into the past, and dreamlike melts away. The breaking of tomorrow's dawn begins anew today. The past and future ever meet in the eternal now, to make each day a thing complete shall be our New Year vow.
The Sunday offering is an expression of the generosity that makes our congregational life possible. As Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg writes, generosity is characterized by the inner quality of letting go or relinquishing. Being able to let go, to give up, to renounce, to give generously. These capacities spring from the same source within us. When we practice generosity, we open to all of these liberating qualities simultaneously. Please text your donation to Chalice. If you haven't texted a donation before, know that once you text the amount, you'll get a reply with a link to follow to enter your credit card information. And if you've already entered that information for a donation to us, then you don't need to enter it again. If your Sunday donation is part of your pledge payment, please be sure to indicate the word pledge after the dollar amount. And also know that you can make a text donation anytime, not just during worship. So the phone number will be on screen in a moment, and I'll also put it in the chat box. Please give generously. Please join in dedicating our offering with words of affirmation. As Unitarian Universalists, we gather to affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn the mill, singly none, singly none.
I'd like to invite you to pray with me, to join me in the spirit of prayer. When we pray together, I often take a posture. I'd like to invite you to consider for yourself. This is a prayer posture that's appropriate for us as Unitarian Universalists. I place my left hand over my heart, a way of both holding the heart, but acknowledging the individual. And then I raise my right hand in the air, a way of being connected, acknowledging that our interconnectedness to the web of interdependent web of existence of which we're a part. When we're in the chapel together, sometimes that uplifted hand could go on the shoulder of the person next to you. So honoring both the individual and our interconnectedness. So the words of our prayer come from Reverend Lynn Cox. Spirit of life and love, known by many names and yet fully known by none, we give thanks for this time of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again after the disaster, after the tragedy, after the loss, after meeting the challenge set before us. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others and ourselves and the planet. May we forgive each other when our courage falls short, and may we try again. Grant us hearts to love boldly, to embody our faith and our values in living words and deeds. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to let the spirit of love and truth work its transformation upon us and within us. Grant us the spirit of hospitality, the willingness to sustain a fit dwelling place for the holy that resides in all being. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even as we are in motion. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. To this, we add the silent prayers of our hearts. Blessed be. You're invited to join in singing.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Our closing words come from the Reverend Amy Zecker Morgenstern. The book of life is open before us. It tells stories of sadness and happiness, despair and hope, stagnation and change, and a peaceful stillness that transcends both. May you be written in the book of life. May you write your own name there in shining ink, stirred together from the tears of the past and the sweet flower essence of the hoped for future. May you know who you have been and who you are, and bless your future self with loving, brave intention. Shana Tova, to a good new year. You're invited to close our time together by singing the well, and everyone is invited to coffee hour.